Our student partnership programs here at the Con are quite varied. We do highlight our partnership with our regional conservatories. There's 17 across New South Wales, and so a lot of our programs are actually working specifically in those regional areas. One example of that is an annual project that we do with the Wollongong Conservatory, where our students engage in a three-way mentoring project. Professional opera principal singers work with our students, and our students work with the younger students from the Con that are usually aged somewhere between 8 and 14. And it's an intense program. Very little preparation is done by anybody until they all get together for the 4 days. And so during those 4 days, they're co-creating. They're working with repertoire for the first time. We actually have a student orchestra that is also involved in the project. And so together they're working through not just the music, but through the production, so that by the end of the 4th day, there is actually a production that has an audience with box office, and they really work into an authentic learning experience by the end of it. We have some projects that we work with communities, and one that I'm involved in at the moment is working with low SES Aboriginal students, particularly girls, in regional areas. So the project that I've been involved in for the last 2 years has actually seen us working with schools in Wodonga, Bellingen, and also in Muswellbrook, where we invite an Indigenous artist to come in and work with the students for an hour per week. During that time, we're encouraging the students to not only find out about their cultural heritage, but to build their self-esteem. Part of that is to ask the students to create narratives and to collect evidence into an electronic portfolio. The technology seems to sometimes hinder us because they're in rural areas, just with Wi-Fi and stuff. But other than that, what we've seen with the students is the developing relationship to themselves and to their culture, but also we've seen a building of resilience and confidence. An example of that is students that might start in this art or music class in Year 7. By the time they're in Year 8 or Year 9, they're actually working as mentors for the younger students and helping them to discover their own sense of self and their sense of heritage. One of the other lovely parts of this being in regional areas is the community. So we're working quite closely with the Aboriginal community to be part of the students' discovery of self, but also but also for the community to take ownership of the project. So working with the creative arts and performing arts seems to be a lovely medium for the students, because they feel there's a sense of freedom in their discovery of what they're doing. In Bellingen, we had the opportunity for the students to paint murals and to plant native trees that had relevance to their actual region. At the same time, a local artist came and did some compositions with students around that mural and the trees that were planted. And so it was a really nice cross-curriculum activity for them between the art, the HSIE, literacy, and also music. It's interesting for me to think about how few students actually train to be music teachers, and yet how many music graduates actually end up as teachers. And through a lot of our student partnerships, we're giving them opportunities that they perhaps had never even thought about. I'm not going to go into great depth, but you know that many musicians have a portfolio career. They don't get that chair in the orchestra. They have to find other ways to not just have an income, but also for them to use their musician skills. And so through our internship professional practice program, we will actually see our performance students engaging in activities such as going to Lismore, to the Northern Rivers Regional Con. They run a very successful, very large orchestra camp each year, and the students are going up there as experts in their instruments, but they're actually becoming mentors and teachers to these students. At the end of that program, many of them comment that they had never even considered engaging in something like teaching before, until they'd had that experience working with those younger musicians and seeing the satisfaction that they could really validate against not just the sharing of their musical knowledge, but seeing the satisfaction from the student who was receiving that expertise. It's a powerful experience to each individual, and they do reflect on that through their assessment task, because it's a unit of study. And we ask them to do two things, and one is to actually create a portfolio of their experiences. We take them through a guided learning activity in the 3 workshops that they have before they go on their internship. And as they document in their portfolio, we're asking them specifically to think about their own learning and teaching and how they transfer that theory into a practice situation, which is probably quite different to any practice situation they've been before. So there's a great deal of learning that they have to undertake in that transfer, and particularly as they evaluate who they are and what they might become themselves in the future. That is quite interesting. So we do get them to also present as part of one of their portfolio tasks themselves as a future musician career. So these pre-professionals, as we like to call them, not just music students, we want them to start thinking about themselves as how they might engage with their career and also with other people later in life. Going back to the teaching, satisfaction for them, I think, is probably quite unique, because they often are passionate about their discipline, music, and that's why they came here. And until they unpack that, they haven't really thought about the fact that it was their music teacher that encouraged them so much to follow this pathway of music study. And so once they join those two things together, they realise that the teaching and learning aspect is really a very important part of their own learning.